Hey guys, so hope you're having a great school year so far, a great spring semester. Hopefully the weather is going to start participating with sports and get warmer and not rain every day, and we're going to be good. So today we're going to talk about your GPA, we're going to talk about NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3 eligibility, the sliding scale. We're kind of going to go over what we in the academic advising world call initial eligibility. So it's your eligibility for the NCAA initially going into college and the requirements that you have to have. We're going to break it down by division. It's really kind of confusing. I hope I simplify it for you and that you leave this webinar really understanding your own eligibility and you can take things kind of into your own hands. So we're going to get going. First thing, that the NCAA kind of has a checklist on their website. Now they recommend that by your 9th grade year, you meet with your counselor, make sure your counselor knows you're an athlete wanting to play Division 1, 2, or 3 sports, and you start checking your core classes to make sure you're taking the right core classes. We'll talk about core classes in just a second. They say by your 10th grade year, go ahead and register with the Eligibility Center. If you don't know what that is or what I'm talking about, go backwards in webinars because we've done a webinar specifically showing you exactly how to register with the Eligibility Center. Then they say by the 11th grade year, take your ACT, SAT, submit those scores to the Eligibility Center. And then by your 12th grade year, you want to have everything in order, and then when you graduate, get your final transcript sent to the NCAA. Now, here's what I'm going to say as a former college counselor. If you have not done all these things and you don't do them by 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, it's okay. Don't freak out. Just when you know that when you know you want to play at the next level, then go and talk to your counselor and just start getting things in order. But there's not a deadline. If you haven't checked your core classes at your 9th grade year, don't freak out. If you haven't registered with the clearinghouse by your 10th grade year, it's okay. Just do it now, and everything will be fine. Okay, so core classes. What are core classes? Core classes are specific classes that the NCAA recognizes and makes you have in order to be eligible. So those are English, and it's English 1 through 4, so English 1, English 2, 3, and 4. Also American Lit, creative writing, those are core English classes. Math would be algebra 1 through 3, geometry, statistics would be your core math classes. Physical or natural science would be biology, chemistry, physics. Social science would be your histories, your civics, government classes would be classified as social sciences. And then additional classes that count as core classes would be religion classes or foreign language are also going to be classes that the NCAA recognizes and requires you to have. Now, some classes that are not core classes. So classes like a fine art 1, 2, 3, 4, drawing, music, those classes are not core classes for the NCAA. A driver's education class or a basketball theory, a basketball workout class, running, aerobics, not core classes. Personal skill classes, so like a running or aerobics, that's kind of an obvious class that wouldn't be a core, but sometimes people get confused. Like a personal finance class is not a core class. An economics class is not a core class. I took a law class in high school that would not have been considered a core class as far as the NCAA is concerned. So also another class that would not be a core class are going to be your developmental classes. So if you have to take an intermediate algebra or an intermediate English in order to get into Algebra 1, that's not going to be considered a core class by the NCAA. And then classes that are not academic in nature. So like a film class, like a theater class, a cooking class, maybe you take like an auto mechanic class as an elective, not a core class, not academic in nature. So core classes are going to be your basic, when you think of high school and education, it's going to be those main classes that you think of, the English, math, science, histories. Those are going to be what are considered core classes. Okay, so another thing with core classes is you only get credit for them once. So if you take a core class, if you take English 1 and you make a D in it and you decide to take it again, you're only getting credit for it one time. It's not getting counted as a core class more than once. That's important to know. Also, if you are a upper level academic student, and let's say you take Spanish 1 before your 9th grade year. You're taking classes early, and you're in an honors program or something, and so you take a Spanish before your 9th grade year. You need to check and make sure that that's going to count as a high school core class. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So don't assume that just because it's an upper level class, if you took it in junior high, you need to make sure that it's counting as a core class towards the NCAA eligibility requirements. Okay, so now let's talk about the difference in Division I and Division II. So Division I, we all know examples of Division I schools are going to be those Power 5 schools, those you know, even like a Troy or a UAB. Those are the Division I programs. So there's going to be different requirements NCAA-wise with initial eligibility for Division I versus Division II. So some of them are going to be the same, some of them are going to be different. I've got a board here that's going to show you exactly what the difference between the two divisions. Both of them are going to require you to have 16 core classes. So Division I and II, you have to have 16 core classes. The key to this, and this is kind of a new rule, is that 10 of the 16 have to be finished, grade in the book, by the start of your senior year. So your senior year, you can't just bog yourself down and take a ton of core classes, because 10 of the 16 have to be finished, completed, and passed by the start of your senior year in order for you to be NCAA eligible. 7 of the 10 have to be in the English, math, natural science category. Okay, so again, they want to make sure that you're getting all of your Englishes, all of your maths, all of your sciences, and you're not skimping those subject areas and heavy on other subject areas. So 10 of the 16 completed before your senior year, 7 of the 10 in English, math, science. Okay, so for NCAA Division I, your GPA requirement is a 2.3. This is your core GPA requirement. So again, those PE electives or some of those other electives that you've thrown in there that you've made A's in, that's not going to count in that core GPA. It's a core GPA score. For NCAA Division I, it's a 2.3. Now this just changed. So for NCAA Division II, it's a 2.20. Now this is for people that are enrolling in school August 2018 or after. So all of you that are fixing to enroll in college, you're going to have the 2.2. It used to be a 2.0. They've just changed the rule and increased it to a 2.2. So that's Division II. Okay, also for Division I and II, you have to have an ACT score that meets the same requirement with your GPA. Now there's a sliding scale that is on the NCAA website. A sliding scale, like for instance, I'll just give you an example. For Division II, the sliding scale would be if you have a 3.0 GPA, then you have to have a 580 SAT score or a 46 ACT sum. So that's the sum of your ACT subscores added up to be a 46 if you have a 3.0 GPA. And there's a sliding scale. It gives you all the way from a 3.3 and above, from a 4.0 all the way down to a 2.0. It shows you exactly what you have to have as far as your ACT or SAT score is required. So go check that out and make sure. That's another requirement. The other requirement you have to be Division I or II eligible is you have to graduate from high school. So let's go over those one more time. For Division I and Division II, you've got to have the 16 core classes, 10 of those completed by your senior year. 7 of the 10 have to be the English, math, and science. You have to have a core GPA of either a 2.3 or a 2.2 to go Division I or II. You have to have the sliding scale GPA, SAT, or ACT score that matches. You can find that sliding scale on the NCAA website. And then you have to graduate from high school. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the specific classes and how many years of each class specifically you have to take. So for English, for Division I, you've got to have, let me make sure I've got this right because it gets very confusing. For English, for Division I, you've got to have 4 years of English. So that means basically you have to take an English every year, or you're going to have to double up on an English 1 year and take 2, like maybe an English 4 and creative writing or something. Or just balance it out 9th through 12th. You're taking in English every year. For English for Division II, you only have to have 3 years of English for Division II eligibility. Okay, so for math, for Division I, you have to have 3 years of math. For Division II, you have to have 2 years of math, and this is Algebra 1 or higher. So again, you cannot take a pre-algebra or an intermediate algebra and count it as a core math class. It has to be Algebra 1, 2, 3, 4, statistics, geometry, calculus, something higher than Algebra 1. For Division I, 3 years of math. Division II, 2 years of math. Okay, so for a physical science, both of them are the same. For Division I and Division II, you have to have 2 years of a physical science. At least one of those physical science classes has to have a lab included in it. So a biology where you have a lab would count as one, and then maybe a chemistry would count as the second physical science. Okay, so additional classes. Now there's 2 additional categories. This first additional category, it's going to be additional what I would call main classes. So you have to have an additional English, math, or physical science class. You can choose which one, choose your strength. Whichever one you're going to do the best in is the one you need to choose. So for Division I, you have to have 1 year of an additional main class. For Division II, you have to have 3 years of an additional class. Now, some people are probably like, well, why is that higher with Division II? Because again, you're lower in these areas. So they want you to pick one, pick 3 extras, whatever your strength is. Now, here's where I'm gonna say something to the parents. Sometimes when we're looking at schedules, we as parents say, well, I think you need to take calculus because it's gonna help you in college. When you're picking your additional main class, I would really suggest you to pick the one that you're going to do the best in, because the GPA is going to be so important in that sliding scale. So yes, calculus may help you in college, but is it going to ruin you right now into getting into a college and mess up your initial eligibility? So really kind of try to think about that a little bit more than just picking an additional class. Social science, you have to have 2 years of, for both Division I and Division II of a social science. Again, your social sciences are going to be your histories, your government classes. Those are going to be social sciences. Okay, then there's another additional category, and this is going to be like electives. So this is going to be where your foreign languages are going to come in, your religions, your philosophies. Those types of classes will be your additional classes in this last category. And for both Division I and Division II, there's 4 years of an additional elective class. So that means if you're picking a foreign language, that's 4 years of foreign language. So Spanish 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's very important. Or you can do the religion-based, philosophy-based classes. So again, this is the difference in Division I and Division II. I hope this makes sense to you on a chart, because it's a lot of words and a lot of different requirements. Now for Division III, there are no athletic scholarships for Division III. Division III is the scholarships that they give are either academic or they're leadership. So there are no athletic scholarships in Division III. Because of that, the NCAA does not have academic requirements for Division III. You do not have to register with the clearinghouse if you're going to play Division III athletics, and there aren't standards per se for Division III initial eligibility. You have to just meet the admissions requirements of the Division III institution. So as long as you meet the admission requirements for the institution, you are eligible to play there. You also have to meet their requirements for scholarship. So if they have a leadership scholarship and it has requirements, you would have to meet those. Or to get an academic scholarship, you would have to meet the requirements of academic scholarships. I will say that typically Division III institutions are more academic focused. They're academic heavy, and a lot of times their requirements are higher than some Division I or Division II universities as well. So pay close attention to what their admission standards are. 75% of Division III athletes are on some sort of financial aid, because there are no athletic scholarships, and those universities sometimes are a little bit more expensive. So you can go to the FAFSA website, and it's just FAFSA, FAFSA.ed.gov, to see if you qualify for financial aid. If you do, I would just recommend that you fill out the form online, submit the documents needed to see how much you qualify for, and then maybe with FAFSA, a leadership scholarship and an academic scholarship, you would come out just as well as you would have if you had had an athletic scholarship to Division I or Division II. Sometimes it all evens out. So I hope this helps you in understanding the difference in Division I, Division II, and Division III, and what core classes are, what the sliding scale is. And now it's just up to you. You can do it, get it done. Make sure you're taking the right classes. You've registered with the clearinghouse, you've taken the SAT or ACT, and good luck to you. Thanks.